Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Friday. Made it to the end of the week. I've had a particularly long, pretty awful week. I don't know. Kids have been, it's been a very griefy week. I did write a blog post earlier today about my week. I don't know. It's just been one of those weeks. But, some weeks are great and some weeks are not so great. And you just kind of, I just stomp on through them because I just think, well, there's nothing else you can do, is there? But I have been reading some really great books. Actually, one of the books that I was reading this morning was, and I should show it now, of course I don't have it. It's called Grief Is This Thing with Feathers, and I wrote a blog post about it this morning, so you can go and have a look. I absolutely love it. It's by Max Porter. It's just exquisite. It's poetry, it's prose, it's gorgeous, part memoir. Really, really like it if you're into that sort of thing. But I do have some really great books that the girls and I have been reading. In fact, I've got so many that 5 doesn't feel like enough, and I might try and shove in another Facebook Live next week because I've missed a few because I've had some technical difficulties, you may have noticed. I'm at this point blaming Robert Henderson, who wrote I See, because anytime I go to talk about his book, Facebook Live breaks. So I have definitely been having some technical issues, but I am back, I think. So the first books I want to show you are the Evie and Pog series. The first one is called Evie and Pog Take Off, and then we've got Evie and Pog Puppy Playtime, and they are written and illustrated by Tanya McCartney, who is a cat. Yes, Robert, it's you, my friend. Oh, get off. Get off. You are now on here. This will break. And if it breaks, it is your fault. Let it be known, people, if this Facebook Live doesn't work, it is Robert's fault. Anyway, back to Tanya McCartney. Tanya McCartney is a Canberra-based author illustrator, and she is unbelievably prolific at the moment. Either that or she's done a massive amount of writing and now all of her books are coming out at once. I'll forgive you, Robert. Good thing you're nice. So the book behind me here, I Love the World, is her latest one. I don't know that one is out in stores yet, but I will show you that one in a couple of weeks. It's absolutely exquisite. But I'm really loving this Evie and Pog series. So Evie and Pog are very best friends. In fact, there's a really nice line. Evie and Pog are very best friends. They live in a treehouse over a daisy spot lawn. No, that's not the line I wanted. One is a girl and one is a dog, and everyone knows them as Evie and Pog. Anyway, no, they're not the lines I wanted. Anyway, there's a cute little line at the end of each chapter. Evie is 6 years old. She's a little girl, and Pog is the pug, and he is 2. And they live in a tree house in, I think it's a silver birch tree. I could have that wrong. Next door to Granny Gladys, who I presume is Evie's grandmother. Now, one of the things I really liked about this series straight off is there's no parents. It's a, well-used literary device to not have the parents in the story, because that leaves, the protagonist, the young protagonist, to all of the action. But I guess as somebody who has got children who have lost a parent, I really appreciate it when there's not the traditional family setup these days. I always have really appreciated it, but to me it's now very, very important in a book. So I love that there's Granny Gladys in this series, but there doesn't appear to be any parents. Oh, look, there may not be parents. Granny Gladys is gorgeous. Now, I really like the layout of the books. Tanya McCartney is an illustrator. She's also a really good designer. I suspect she worked quite hard on the design of these books as well. Each book has got 3 stories in it. They're nice and short. They're for a beginning independent reader, but there's also some other different text types in each book. So there's maps and there's all sorts of cool layouts with the illustrations. You can see the style of the illustrations there. They're gorgeous. And what a great tree house. I love the slippery slide going down. I love the daisy spot lawn. Granny Gladys likes to clean things, and she doesn't even like the daisies in the lawn. Evie loves the daisies in the lawn, but Granny Gladys takes to them with her scissors, which really upsets Evie. Here's Granny Gladys here. Her favourite things are dusting, mopping, and sweeping. Granny likes tidy, and she loves quiet. I understand, Granny. Granny's gorgeous. They're just beautifully illustrated. There's some fun little design elements in them, just in terms of they're cool, it's a cool tree house, got a hanging chair in it for starters. Tanya McCartney, if you follow her on Instagram, has, quite a fabulous looking office setup, and I'm not at all surprised that the interiors of the tree house in this book are just fabulous. I Chickpea and I absolutely laughed our way through these books. I was only going to read her the first story, and we ended up reading all three of them when we were reading it the first night we read them. And then she read me the stories in this one, and they're equally as cute and funny. What I really like about Evie is that she's super, super clumsy. She's always tripping over things. And again, like, I'm really clumsy. So I kind of understand Evie. I don't know. I could be Evie, I reckon. I don't know why I've got Post-it notes in these ones. I think I'm just showing you different things. I just really love the illustrations. They're gorgeous. They're very, very funny and playful. And I think Tanya McCartney has just really nailed it with this series. They're going to be very, very popular with sort of 5, 6, 7-year-olds who are just starting out on their independent reading journey. Likewise, Juno Jones, and I'm showing you books today that are good ones for being back at school and wanting to supplement something, your school readers, with something that your children can read, perhaps independently or with a little bit of assistance, but something that they can get their teeth into as well, but are a little bit more interesting than a school reader. And these Juno Jones books, which are by Kate Gordon, illustrated by Sandy Flett, are absolutely brilliant. I talked about the first one, Word Ninja, on my Facebook Live last year, and I think I reviewed it and maybe even did some teacher's notes on it. I absolutely love this series. The second one has just come out, and it is called Mystery Rider. And once again, Juno Jones, who goes to, oh gosh, what is it, Muttonbird Bay School. Once again, her school is being threatened with closure. They've had to improve their reading results, improve their academic results, and there's these men in suits that have come to sort of look at the school, and they are threatening to close it down. So in this one as well, Shy By, who is one of Juno Jones's friends, is missing. Miss Tippett is acting very strangely, and everyone keeps turning to Juno Jones to solve all of the mysteries. So she's a little bit of a mystery solver. In the first book, we kind of discover that Juno Jones has got some, has an alter ego as a ninja warrior, and she doesn't really like reading. In this second book, she has discovered a love of words, not necessarily reading, but she becomes a writer of stories for kids who don't want to read. And she's a really she's a delightful protagonist. I just really, really like her. The book has got really interesting bits in it, like it's got footnotes, it's got some really good illustrations. I love this one. The first footnote says, "A footnote is an additional piece of information printed at the bottom of a page. This footnote is about footnotes, so it is extra specially footnotish and clever." And the illustrations are just fab by Sandy Flett. I love all of I have a particular fondness for ninjas, so I definitely appreciated the ninjas, and they're just funny. There's jokes interspersed through the whole book. You can see that the text is nicely spaced, and it's got lots of illustrations in it to keep young readers interested. Very, very fast pace, kind of a little bit tongue-in-cheek humor, which I really, really like. And I've just purchased 5 or 6 of these to use with my grade 3 students of the first one, and I'm going to get some of the second one as well. I've got multiple copies of these in my library on the shelves, but I'm going to use this with maybe an English extension class because I think it's a really good one about playing with words. There's a really good website as well, which has got some tips for young writers. I think it's just junojones.com.au. And I think that the publisher behind it, who are Yellow Brick Books, are doing a great job with this series. They're a beautifully produced book, and I just really enjoy everything about them. There's going to be another one. We get a little taster at the back of the second one. It says, "Dear reader, it's me again. You probably weren't expecting to hear from me so soon, but I have something completely amazing to tell you. The new Juno Jones adventure is not far away, and in it, I am a detective. Are you as excited as I am? I bet you are. Totally on the edge of your seat." So, you know, gives us a little taster of the next one, which I think is always good because, again, it keeps kids' interest really high. So I'd highly recommend that series for classroom use and for at-home use, and a really good one to supplement those awful readers that start to come home. I have another one in a similar-ish vein, in the sense that it's got illustrations and some really, really great text. Now, this one, oh gosh, I should have looked this up. I think this is the 4th Danny Best, or is it the 5th? I don't know if Jen's Store is on here. Jen, if you're on here, tell me if it's the 4th or the 5th. Danny Best has been one of my favourite series for quite some time. I really like the writing of Jen Storer. She has done some fabulous books, and they are very, very popular in my library. Truly Tan has been immensely popular in my library, and Danny Best is equally as popular. They are illustrated by Mitch Fain, and they are top quality productions. They are beautiful. So Mitch Fain is just a fabulous illustrator, and these books are a combination of his watercolor illustrations and I guess some sketches. And what I also really like, I assume these have been digitally collaged. There's lots of real artifacts in there that you can see as well, and they're just fabulous. Again, I like that they've played with visual images. I like that there's some diagrams. I like that there's just some different forms of text. I think these are sorts of things, these are the sorts of visual genres and written genres that we need to see in books. I think it's really nice when a book just isn't a straight narrative, when there's A, something to break up the text, but B, another kind of text type or a visual text visual genre to have a look at for students, because it just exposes them to so many different ways of telling their own story and of reading a story. Now you can see in there things like the pen. I assume this is digital collage. Usually on the imprint page, if you're ever looking for how illustrations have been done, usually on the imprint page, or often on the imprint page, it says how the illustrations have been done. This one doesn't, but I assume it's been done digitally. These books are so full of life advice, and I'm laughing because they just make me laugh. Danny Best is hilarious. He's got all this life advice for his readers. He's sort of he's really self-assured, and he's just always giving the reader life advice like he's some sort of expert, and I just love that about him. I feel like Jen Storer has absolutely nailed that kind of 8, 9, 10-year-old boy or girl who just is like confident and they've got it all happening, but they don't really, and they're just kind of having a lot of fun. She just has a lot of fun with these books. They have so much child appeal, and they are so beautifully produced. Thank you, Artel. It's the 4th and final Danny Best. Thank you. I just think they're fabulous. I really, really like the different types of fonts that have been used. I think that this is very, very helpful for young readers. It can be quite good for readers who have difficulty reading. It keeps their eye going across the page, and all of those different text types and all of that white space gives the eye a little bit of a rest. Like, the books look very busy, and they are very busy, but there's a lot of white space used as well, so they're not too overwhelming. I cannot say enough good things about this series. I really greatly enjoy it. In this first part of the book, Danny and his friend Fab are insulting each other about their milkshakes. I just wanted to read this one about his milkshake, because I could just totally imagine this. So Fab has got a spearmint flavored milkshake, and I can imagine this is how it would taste. And Fab says, this milkshake tastes like toothpaste. No, wait. It tastes like toothpaste spit. The toothpaste spit that you spit out at the dentist. Yes, sir. This milkshake wins the prize for the world's most dribbly, slimy dentist snot glob milkshake in the universe. It wins the Golden Spit Cup. It's just so clever. And actually, I can imagine that. Like, spearmint milkshake, all that frothy stuff on the top, it would be like dentist spit. It'd be so gross. They're just clever. In this book, they have sitting underneath Danny's mission control, sort of his hubby house, his clubhouse, and they decide that they're going to build a new and improved mission control. And they go about with all of the plans, some of which I showed you earlier, and they're just going to make it absolutely fab. There's a great cast of characters in this book, which I think are outlined at the beginning. Yep, there's a supporting cast of characters. Love them. Super funny, super engaging, all of the things that you want. And I'm thinking so my 7-year-old has, oh gosh, she's 8. My 8-year-old has read these, but I think she probably read the first one when she was 7. But I reckon they would easily go up to, like I'm saying, 6 till 10, 11 even. My 11-year-old has read them. They're just one of those books that I think super fun and very, very appealing. Next up is Say Cheese by Frances Watt and illustrated by Marjorie Crosby-Farrell. I love Frances Watts and her picture books. Parsley Rabbit's book about books will always be one of my all-time favorite picture books, and I love, what else has she written? Gosh, now I'm having a mental blank. Captain Crabclaw, Kisses for Daddy. Now, Kisses for Daddy was the first book that Dan ever got it was the first gift he ever got for Father's Day, actually. I adored that book. I think it may have even come out the year our eldest daughter was born, and I got it for him as his Father's Day present. It is the most beautiful book. It's visually stunning as well. But I think Frances Watts just nails text. She really does. Sometimes the text might look minimal, and it does look minimal in this, but she just nails it. She's a very sophisticated writer. Fabulous end papers on this one, and you can probably guess that it's going to be about taking photos. It's about a little mouse, and the mouse is the photographer, and he's come to the school to take the school photo, the annual school photo. So we've just had our school photo at school, and I wish I had had this book the week before that I got it to review, because I would have loved to have read it to all of the kindy to maybe grade 5 classes. They would have thought it was just so funny. So in this book, the little mouse is trying to, you can see him up there, he's a photographer, he's trying to get all of the kids into the picture. It should be easy, shouldn't it? But of course it's not. And he's looking at this student who's too tall. And then there's all these pages that go, say cheese. And then he's looking over at these little froggies over here. And they're, you know, bouncing around doing whatever they're doing, say cheese. So it's got that repetitive. I love a picture book that's got a piece of repetitive text in it. So you read, and then you say that piece of repetitive text. I think it's really nice. It encourages a sense of reading in really young children, because you can read the page and then go, what do they say? Say cheese. And when I read this to my kindy kids next week, that's certainly what I'll be doing. I'll read all of the text, and then I'll say cheese, and they'll all say it with me. Another thing that I always do with picture books when I'm reading them to anybody is I always start a picture book by saying, my job is to read the words and your job is to read the illustrations, because when you're reading a picture book, you have to put the words and the illustrations together for the whole story to make sense. And, you know, it's so true with this book here. Oh, I get it. You think you can do it better yourselves. And what are they doing? They're taking selfies. But you wouldn't know that unless you'd been reading the pictures carefully. So it's very cute to have meerkats doing selfies. And I quite like their iPhone covers. They're kind of cute. Say cheese. And they did take kind of a cute photo. So it's just one of those fabulously fun. There's lots of speech bubbles. Couldn't think of the word. I was thinking text boxes. There's just lots of fun things in it. It's just one of those books that I think is going to be one of those just favorites. You read it and you'll want to read it over and over and over again. It's gorgeous, and I'm really going to enjoy reading this one at school. Love that final illustration, and of course super nice end papers. Well done on nice end papers. And then the final book that I have to show you today is, wow, amazing. It is called The Proudest Blue, A Story of Hijab and Family, and it's by Ibtihad Muhammad, who is an Olympic medalist in fencing. That's right, isn't it? Yes, fencing. She started fencing as a high school student because she wore a hijab, still wears a hijab, and it obviously the modesty of the fencing outfits rather suited her dress code. So that's how she actually started fencing, and then she represented her country in the Olympics and got a medal. So she is quite a proud advocate for her religion, for her culture, everything. I love her. I have followed her for quite a long time. She has a Barbie doll, hijab wearing Barbie doll created in her likeness. She's a fabulous woman, and, you know, super committed to her faith, but also just committed to diversity in all of its forms, and making sure that everybody is represented in toys, i.e. Barbie dolls, and now in books. So I'm just loving this book, and it's very, very beautiful. Look at that cover. on the end papers. And I've said this before. The other thing about end papers is that sometimes the story starts and ends. Look at my little face over the top there. This book is too big. My screen is too small. Sometimes a book starts and ends on the end papers. And in this case, that is what happens. So on this end paper, the first end paper we're looking at, the mum and the two sisters going to the shop to get a hijab. And what they are doing is going to get Asiya's first hijab, and she just hit puberty. She is about to start wearing the headscarf. It is her little sister's, it's going to be her little sister's first day at school quite soon. So on the first day of school, she has a new backpack, new light up shoes, and she feels special and she feels like twirling. And Asiya comes out of the house and she stops. It's the most beautiful first day of school ever because it's her first day wearing a hijab to school. And then they're walking, and she says, I'm walking with a princess, which I think is beautiful. I cannot imagine my girls, I just cannot imagine my girls ever being that kind to each other and saying one of them was princess. But, you know, I will live in hope. These two have a gorgeous, gorgeous relationship in this book. It's absolutely beautiful. It's just lovely. And actually the characters in the book are the author's two younger sisters. And she, I think, wrote this for them, but also for children everywhere so that they could see themselves represented in books and so that other people of different faiths could also see their faith represented in a book. You can see already that some of the expressions on the faces, they're pointing, they're starting to look at her a little bit more. And I love the illustrations because they're very, very expressive. And if I was reading this with my younger students, I would go through each of these faces and I would talk about the emotions in each of them and the way the illustrator has made each of the characters express emotion just with facial expressions. Hi, Alison Tate. Nice to talk to you on the phone yesterday. Haven't done those things I said I was going to do for you. Long day. And then we have this gorgeous image of Asiya in her hijab, and it's beautiful. The first day of wearing hijab is important, Mama had said. It means being strong. And she is going to have to be strong because she does face some, you know, not particularly nice comments and some people who are pointing. Some people won't understand your hijab, Mama had said, but if you understand who you are, one day they will too. And that line gives me goosebumps every time I read it. I just think, what a fabulous, empowering message. Just look at that illustration. I've had this book open on one of my book holders that go on my wall for a couple of weeks now at this page. I just think that's such a powerful illustration. Mama said, don't carry around the hurtful words that others say. Drop them. They are not yours to keep. They belong only to those who said them. There's just some really great lines in this book. It takes me 48 steps to get away from the yelling boy. And look at the anger on that little kid's face. She is one angry little girl, and rightly so. I just love her. It's great. Anyway, they've had a great day in the end, and they've worked it all out. And the hijab is like the ocean and the sky, no line between them, saying hello with a loud wave, saying I'll always be here, like sisters, like me and Asiya. And then at the end, there's some author's notes. It's a great author's note. There's a note from the illustrator. There's a photograph of the author, wrong finger, Megan, and of her younger sisters who the book was written for. I just can't tell you how much I really, really liked that book, and it's such an important book. So that's my 5 books for this week. I have got so many more that I need to share. I have got piles downstairs in my office of books for the next 5 on Friday. So I might try and fit in a 5 on Wednesday next week as well. I'll see how I go because I've just got so many really beautiful books. It's a good time of year for really new, beautiful books to be coming out. So have a nice weekend, and I will see you all sometime next week. See ya. I can't end it now. End. Oh my gosh, end. So hard to end.